I'm going to name this video, How Stupid Can You Possibly Be? That's my question. I'm getting comments this morning, well, yesterday, whatever it was. People trying to say that you can do flat earth or round earth experiments very easily by just going outside and going up a hill, and the fact that you see water proves that you're on a ball because the water comes up to eye level. If you're standing on top of a hill, like a really big hill, and say it's like that flat, but then falls away on the sides, right? And you climb a tree, you don't see more hill, you see more sky. Do you see how that works? So if I was standing on the water and it's falling away from me and I climbed up a hill, I would see maybe a little bit more surface, but I would have to look down to see it. It wouldn't come up to my eye level. As I went up the hill, it wouldn't come up with me so that I seen more flat surface. No, that's how flat surfaces work. Go to a parking lot, lay down, look across the parking lot at like a car, and you won't see the bottom of its tires really well. Sit up on your ass, and you can see the whole car. Like, you can prove this real simple. I don't know how incredibly stupid you'd have to be. How can you still type and write and spell, but your brain be that fucking stupid? That malfunctioned. That you don't understand your own eyes and comprehension in hills and a round object to a fucking flat object. How that works. When you go up in altitude on a ball, you don't see more ball come up to the same altitude. You'd see the sky more, and you'd be able to look down and see further on the ball. Do you understand that? Can you fucking comprehend? I'm angry about that this morning. Like, I can't even... Not that I'm angry, it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating that you can be that stupid. When I was younger, I didn't think it was possible. Until I tutored math in high school. And then trying to get people to understand math equations, simple math equations and fractions and shit like that, and trying to get it into their heads, and how many times I had to change my teaching method in order to fucking get this certain people to understand things. And they seemed like smart people. You never would have guessed that, having a conversation with them, hanging out with them, going to the bar with them, whatever. You'd never think that they were totally inept. But if you don't naturally understand math, you should just shut up and listen to people who do when it comes to things like this, when it comes to geology and stuff, trigonometry and all that kind of stuff. If you don't naturally have an aptitude when you were in elementary school for math class, shut the fuck up. Don't even fucking chime in on flat earth. Either way, you don't know. You don't understand. You cannot comprehend that. It is way over your head. Go to the bar. The worst part is that you think you're listening to other math people. If somebody's conclusion says something to the effect that the object didn't move at all, but I think the earth moved, that's not an idol. It's not someone you should go to. Not your guy. Not your math guy. Find a math guy. Listen to them. Find somebody who was good in math right away and who kind of stayed good in math throughout their life and kept absorbing things. Find somebody who enjoys learning. That's who I am. I don't I don't learn to shoot my mouth off or anything like that. I just enjoy it. I watched all National Geographic stuff as a kid growing up all the time because I just love it. I just love that knowledge of whatever, right? I didn't like school setting, but I also reject illogical fallacies. Like even when I was a little kid, you couldn't get me to absorb things that weren't logical. Like OUGH. Just, um, just no. No, your stupid little rules in Englishy before I accept to see all this stuff, and except for when it's doesn't do that, and when we don't want it to, and blah blah. Fuck you, English. Makes sense. Use logic, and now you're actually pushing math further from logic, which bugs me a lot too. It's in the new math, and now you're trying to LGBTQ it or whatever it is. That's not it. It's not that. It's something else. It's racism, critical race theory. They're trying to make math racist in that, and it doesn't make any sense because it's not making math racist. I'm sure it will eventually, like when you get into word problems. But like in a simple math problem, what they're saying is 5 times 3 means that you're using the 5 3 times. 3 times 5 means that you're using the 3 5 times, or whatever, right? It's just the way that you read it or say it, the order, which is order of operations, which is kind of math, which I'm fine with that. But and they're making you show your work that way. Math is rules, and so that's just another rule. It's to get you to fit into a box more, but it's not. I don't see it as being all that racism. I know that it's coming from critical race theory, because that's what they call it, is critical race math or whatever. So it is racism. If it's from that is racism. Critical race theory is racism. That our society, it almost totally annihilated racism. I'm sure, there was pockets here and there, and there was a little bit of whatever animosity, and black neighborhoods and Indian neighborhoods are still trashy in that they don't have grocery stores or whatever, but less and less. Things were getting better everywhere, and it was just changing. Like that was in the 90s, and things were really starting to progress. Now, obviously, there's still the hood, and that's still a problem, but I mean, even that was starting to get way better, and everything was getting way better, and there was less of it in Canada, especially. Except the native thing. That's what we have. And it's the same thing. You guys are relatives, and that's why you're treated the same way. You're all Hebrews, so they need just to be as far from God as possible. That's the goal with the Hebrews. That's why rap is the way it is, and that's why the guns, and that's why the drugs, and that's why the single moms and abortions and all that stuff is, if you guys go to God, they're in trouble. The world changes. Like that. That's all it's going to take. No wars, none of that shit. It's just get the Hebrews to be Christians and to be Hebrews. The world changes like that. And Esau, who's in rule now, we'll be slave to Esau or servant to Jacob. I realize that like slave, servant, they kind of sound like the same but they're very, very much not. And even English is supposed to be taken very literal. Every word has a very literal meaning, like a hobo and a bum are two very different things, right? But so, and in that case, in the Hebrew language, it's even more. Every word had a very defined meaning. They had 3 words for love. You know, you didn't love a hamburger and love your mom and love your wife. There was 3 different words for that. And, oh, sorry, God, I guess. So, there was 3 different loves. There was the love for God, the love for your spouse and your children, and then the love for your fellow man and your enemy. And that's a big one, to love your enemy. That was one of the important ones in the Hebrew language that kind of blew everybody away, because it was an eye for an eye. Then it changed to love your enemy at some point. Hard pill to swallow. Anyway, it's unbelievable how fucking stupid people are. It blows my mind every day. But there's got to be signs in your life that you're that stupid. There's got to be, like, do people come to you for advice? When you go to work and stuff, are you like the brains of the crew every time? You know? When people don't make you the brain and they try to argue with you and they do things other ways, do you get to say, I told you so a lot? Or at least have that opportunity, but then bite your tongue because you know better? Because that's describing my life. I don't know what it's like in yours, but it seems it's probably nothing like that. It's probably the opposite of that. Do you strive for knowledge? Do you like wake up and think, fuck, I wonder what's going on, and watch a bunch of news programs, and then I wonder what else I can learn, and study the Bible for a few hours, and then I wonder if I can learn something about the world and go and learn something, National Geographic or whatever, and maybe learn some sciences and things like that. Like, do you know biology? Do you know chemistry? Do you know astrology? Do you understand earth science? Because you're arguing with somebody who can argue with university level people and send them back to their fucking textbooks crying. And you're trying to explain to me how perspective works, and you're getting it backwards and trying to sound like you're smart. A fucking sad, sad world, man. It really is. And that proves evolution isn't real. Pretty well everybody knew how to, like, tell the date and time by looking at the stars in the sky. Let's say 500 years ago, 600 years ago. And now you can't even tell me how your eyes work and how perception happens. You can't see to the end of a long hallway or across the ball field, but you expect to be able to climb a hill and see China. I can hardly see the boats out there on the water with my binoculars. I still can't pick out like a person. And you expect your eyes to see across the world. Just goes to show that evolution is not a thing. It works in the opposite way. Especially if we were to, like, say, if everybody was to marry races, which is very much what the government doesn't want, we actually would be gaining some information in your DNA, and you would stand a chance to maybe strengthen the bloodline of humanity. So when you see, like, Asians and blacks and whites and Indians and Native Americans and people from like India, all interbreed, and we come to a single person, that will be a type, like when everybody on Earth is basically the same color and they all have the same color hair and we all have brown eyes, and because blues and brown hair and browner skin, brown's dominant, blues not. So to have like blues and reds and things like that will be far, far less eventually. And so again, we're not gaining information, we're losing that information. And but you could gain a little, right? Like you could tend to gain some attributes along the way. So maybe that would be a slight evolution. But during it all, we're still losing. You still lose every generation. You still lose a little bit. We don't gain a little bit. We lose a little tiny bit every single generation. So you don't notice it in 4 generations. You don't know 5 generations. You'd notice it in 10, 15, 20 generations or whatever. You'd notice it quite a bit. So if you went back, like I said, 500, 600 years ago, the average intelligence would be through the roof. Now, the education wasn't there. People were abused more. The real intelligent were real evil, and shit was going bad. Like, yes, for sure, right? But look at what they did figure out and what we did accomplish and all the things that we did do, and fucking and our history's full of slanted lies and bullshit. They make good people bad and bad people good all the time. And we're finally, you guys are starting to scratch the surface of it with like the Christopher Columbus thing and stuff like that. Though the things that you're finding out are stupid things. It's like, oh, he was racist. Well, everybody was fucking racist back then. What are you talking about? If you go across the world right now, most of the world is racist. If you're not in Canada, America, Britain, or Australia, then it's normal to be racist. Or, well, maybe a few others, Spain and Ireland, and Scotland, and those countries are all on the good too. But I mean, like Russia and most of Africa and all that kind of stuff. I've met Africans, especially the white ones. They're racist, big time racist, and it's normal to be racist over there. And it's normal to be racist in China. They hate the rest of the world. Perfectly normal and perfectly whatever, accepted. Like Russia and Ukraine and all these places all over the world. It's just normal. It's only us that make a big deal out of it. And the fact that we make a big deal out of it shows you that the fact that saying you're a racist to somebody is like the worst insult that you could possibly say, and it's like defacing their character right up there with calling them a rapist, shows you that like we're the most evolved ever in history. We should have kept going on that path. We're going down this critical race path instead, and it's right back where we came from. We're gonna go right back into. We're just going up the hill, and now we'll go back down, and it'll be the other way around. Everybody will hate the other way or whatever, because now it's horrible to be a white male. Before it wasn't, right? So now it'll be. It's still racist as hell. It's just going to be the lynchings will happen on the other side. Perfectly ready for that. Giver. I welcome the exit of this fucking world. Been praying to God about being tortured to renounce his name or whatever. If that comes down to it, I won't be able to I don't have the strength for that shit. But he assured me that he'll look after it. I don't have to worry about that. So I just put it out of my head. He'll be my strength, is what I'm saying, when it comes down to that. And I don't have to think about that. And as far as laying my head down like on a guillotine or something like that, fuck. If it's for God, like renounce God or do that, no, fucking right on, I'll lay right down. Or getting a jab, which is renouncing God. You're getting the mark of the beast. You're saying that he didn't do it and that you don't trust him. And that you trust in medical science more than you trust in God's creation. And that this weapon of COVID that was formed against you in a lab is a threat to you for some reason. That's not very Christian. You're just a coward. So, you don't have faith. That's not real faith. If you don't even understand what real faith is. Real faith is living in a van, talking to people like you know what you're fucking talking about in your pajamas, and not giving a flying fuck what they think. Because it's important to God that these words be spoken a lot of times. Especially flat earth stuff. And I know you say, oh, well, what's it matter? Even once I get you. Difference does it make? Makes a ton of difference. Ton of difference. Either God's right there, right on top of the dome, where I can take my shitty binoculars that I got for $20 at Walmart, and I zoomed in on a planet the other day and could actually see the lines in the prism of the light to know that it's not a fucking planet, it's a light. And it's that close that I could actually still focus it with those shitty $20 fucking binoculars. Like I said, I can't focus the guy out there on the boat. I can focus the boat, and I can focus past the boats, but I'm saying I can't see a man walking on the deck of the boat. I can't really see the like it's container ship, but I couldn't like pick out the defined lines between the containers or whatever when they're all stacked on top of each other. It's just a block of container, right? All different colors, but you don't see the black lines or whatever. But I seen the fucking lines in that star and the light, and I could tell that it was like a webbed. The lines were kind of bent and webbed like a mesh. Really pretty. Kind of reminded me of Metatron cube, but not as perfect, not as detailed. It just the scratching the surface of it, of the circle of life or whatever you want to call it. Which is cool that that Bosnian pyramid actually draws the outline of it. The 3 pyramids in Bosnia. If you connect the points and connect the doors and then draw circles on it, and it actually drew the fucking flower of life for the cube, Metatron's cube. Metatron is Enoch once he was transcribed to become an angel. He changed his name. I know it sounds like Megatron, but it isn't. There's a reason Megatron's name is what it is. They're trying to make fun of Enoch because he's the king of he's the new head of the angels. He's the replacement for Satan. He's identical to Satan. Satan was the best, prettiest, beautifulest angel with 12 wings, blah, blah, blah. Enoch matches him in every way. Michael doesn't. Michael was the warrior. Satan was more pretty, but he was winning. Satan was going to defeat Michael, but God kind of did something. I forget how the exact story went. Tripped him or something like that. However it went. And then they were able to push him down into, or he caught Michael because Satan was going to pull him in with them or something like that. But Michael wasn't going to win that fight. But Enoch will. And Jesus, obviously, is God, and too much for me to understand. But I do understand that part of the battle right there. That little physical part, I think that, again, God's a lawyer. And of course he could defeat him. He could just unrate him, right? Make him gone. But the triumph of us and mankind, and letting us have free will, and letting it happen with the angels, and them having their purpose in it all. And we need that. It's not about him. It's about us all doing it. All of us. Even the Nephilim, the fallen angels, the non-fallen angels, everything. I don't know the interaction that the other layers of heaven and the other layers of earth are going to have during that. I don't even know if they matter, because we're the center layer of the earth, and we're going to have a war with the top layer of the creation, of the heavens, for dominion over all of it. So I don't know that they even... You got to think of it like Thor or whatever, where they're just kind of mankind, or you know what I mean, and really like the battles between Thor's world, the gods, and other gods were affecting all of the universe, not just, right? Well, flat Earth, guess what? Earth is all of the universe. Universe, by definition, is a closed system. We are a closed system. There's the dome with the stars and the lights and the planets in it, right? And then just above that, God. Though there's the 7 layers of heaven above that. Read the book of Bartholomew, the book of Isaiah, the book of Enoch. They all describe it quite well. And what's his name? I always forget his name. Not Noah, the other one, Moses. In the book of the Jews, pretty sure. Moses or Abraham, might have been Abraham. One of the two. Got a really, really intense tour of earth and heaven and everything. And got to describe it pretty good, but not nothing like Bartholomew or Isaiah or Enoch. Anyway, smarten up, dumb people. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't talk. Have a nice day.